Hey, what's up, everybody? Today we're talking about how to make your drums quieter. Let's check it out. Today we're going to be doing an experiment here at Sweetwater. We are going to test many of the different ways to make your drums quieter, whether it's to protect your hearing, whether it is to allow you to practice late at night, to save yourself from angry neighbors, to keep from waking the baby, whatever it is. We are going to go through a lot of these different options that should help you decide what it is that you need for your kit, as well as give you some real scientific research. I'm going to put my lab coat on. Not really, but we are going to show you an SPL meter to show you what the actual change in decibel reading from the loud drums to the hack or to the piece of gear that we're going to use to lower the volume of those drums. It's important to note that although it may sound drastically quieter to your ears, the number of decibels on the SPL meter will not change as much as you would imagine, as it is often a reduction of the more apparently audible higher frequencies. You can see this in the frequency graph we will have on screen. Obviously, all of these solutions are for an acoustic kit. Of course, you can go the electronic kit route, and I really love that option as well. I personally have electronic drums at home, so I can practice whenever. But sometimes you just want to quiet the acoustic kit, and so we're going to focus on that for today. So let's get started. Let's check out some drum mutes. These are going to be the kinds of things that you stick directly on the drums or the cymbals. This is a very simple way to reduce the volume of your kit, typically a lower cost option as well. And you can just throw them on when you want quiet practice. You can take them right back off. Let's check it out. All right, first up, we are going to check out the Vic drum mutes. Let's get them out and put them on the kit. All right, so a set of mutes like this does reduce the volume drastically, especially on the drums. The smaller amount of material on the cymbals does make it where you have to be more accurate in your playing, which can be a good practice technique, but also you have to think about the size of your cymbals. In this case, this mute is not big enough to cover my entire cymbal, and so if I hit it on the edge, I still get more sound. But the hi-hat and the ride both do a really great job because they're almost the full size of the cymbal from the center to the outside of it. And the drums themselves, of course, are very reduced. So it's a great and easy way to bring the volume down, but you do have to adjust the way that you play a little bit in order to take full use of this method. All right, so next up is the Evans SoundOff Drum Kit Mute Pack. Comes with everything for the full kit, 10, 12, 16, 14, and an adjustable kick drum, plus 3 cymbals. One of the interesting things here is the way that the cymbal mounts go on for the hi-hat and the ride. It actually curves over the edge, which holds it in place really well. I think that's going to do a great job of muting the ride cymbal and the hi-hat. And then the extra crash cymbal one is kind of similar to the last one where it just sits on top. Yeah, so let's check it out. All right, yes, I will say, very impressed. Does a great job, especially on the hi-hat and ride cymbals. One important thing to note about the Evans SoundOff pack is that the ride is 20 inches for the mute, and so I did switch out from my 21-inch ride to a 20-inch ride just to show you how it works. That's something to consider when you get one of these packs, is you want to try and get a pack that actually matches the size of your cymbals, your drums, because otherwise they're not going to fit, they're not going to perform correctly, they're not going to mute the cymbals or drums very well at all. So, important note. If you're just looking for some mutes for your cymbals, we also have the Meinl cymbal mute pack, which is similar to the way that the Vic Firth pack works. Just sets on the center of the cymbal, and then there's a full 14-inch that lays all the way over the hi-hat, so you get full 360 playability on that. Pretty cool option. All right, so the next option takes more effort, but it does produce even greater results. That would be switching out your drum heads for low volume drum heads. Here we are using the Remo silent stroke drum heads, and then switching out your cymbals to low volume cymbals. The first option I'm going to show you is the L80 from Zildjian. In this case, you retain a very similar to realistic acoustic cymbal experience, the way that the cymbal responds, the way that you can play the cymbal, but you get much reduced volume. This is much different from putting a pad on the cymbal itself. Instead, you play the cymbal like a normal cymbal and get a lot lower volume. Same thing goes for the drum heads. Instead of replacing them with pads that sit on top and having a very rubber, poor playing experience, you actually get a more realistic playing experience, but that reduced volume. Let me show you how it sounds. All right, so what we have right here is the DB1 package from Evans. This is another example of lower volume cymbals and lower volume drum heads for your acoustic kit. Now, in this case, this is a good example of something that is not as quiet as it can possibly be, but it does drastically reduce the volume. The idea behind the DB1 from Evans is that it is more of a tonal and realistic playing experience without as much dampening as their DB0 series. So the DB0 is very similar to what we showcased with the Remo silent stroke heads. These actually have some foam and a different kind of style to the way that the actual head is made so that you receive more tone. And then the snare drum actually has plastic strips underneath the mesh head here. So even with the snares off, you still get a little bit of a snare sound. Snares on, you get that full snare sound. So this is a great opportunity for lower volume practice with a little bit more of a realistic sound experience, but still much quieter than a full acoustic kit. And this DB1 package also comes with the 16 and 18-inch crash, the 20-inch ride, and the 14-inch hats. Next option is the ORA series from Wuhan. Comes with a 14-inch pair of hats, 16-inch crash, and a 20-inch ride. Next up is the Sabian quiet tone cymbals. This particular pack comes with 14-inch hi-hats, 16 and 18-inch crash, and a 20-inch ride. Let's check it out. All right, and up next we have the low volume cymbals from On Stage. These are the LVCP 5000. You got 14-inch hi-hats, 16-inch crash, 18-inch crash, and a 20-inch ride. All right, so what you see in front of me is the famed plexiglass shield. This is something that I'm sure you're familiar with. If you're wondering about how to reduce drum volume, you've probably thought about this as an option. It is very, very popular. It is used in all sorts of different venues. It is used in houses of worship, in churches. And the idea here is you want to stop sound from traveling in a certain direction. And so this is ClearSonic's 5-panel, 4-foot shield. We're also going to check out their 6-panel, 5.5-foot shield. And more importantly, for those of you at home, we're also going to check out their absorption options. And so when you're looking at the SPL monitor there, you're not going to see a massive difference in the dBs coming from the drum set. And that's because we are in a room where the sound is reflecting all around. This is just keeping the sound from traveling in that forward direction, but it's still going up, bouncing off the ceiling, bouncing off the walls. So you have to understand the best use and purpose for something like this. If you were looking to help keep bleed out of microphones, if you're at home in your rehearsal space and you're trying to record a guitar on that side of the room and a vocalist on that side of the room, and you're trying to keep the drums out, this is going to help, but it is not going to be the full solution for a home environment. It does not keep sound from traveling through your ceiling or through your walls, especially not the ones behind you, but it does help with the transmission in a certain direction. And so we're going to get the bigger shield up here, a little bit taller, and it's going to deflect a little bit more from these cymbals. This is something where if you are on a raised platform and your audience is down below you, like at a church or at a venue, this is going to help even though it's not quite as tall, because the directionality, the sound does not travel down quite as well, and so you don't need the extra height. But if you are on the same level as the audience, you're probably going to want that extra bump in height. And after we check that out, we're going to add the absorption options, and we're going to make the full enclosure, which is going to be the real thing that's going to make an impact at your house when it comes to really actually soundproofing or sound isolating. So let's check it out. right, so that was an example of the 6-panel, 5.5-foot ClearSonic shield that we have here. What this gives you is the option for a little bit more of a surround. This allows you to deflect more to the sides and also incorporate bigger drum sets, or if you have a smaller drum set or percussion setup or whatever it is that, I mean, you can use it for guitar amps, you can use it for other scenarios as well. This just allows you to have a more full coverage and protection. Once again, keeping the sound from traveling forward or to the sides. The additional height is helpful when you are on a lower stage or when you are more on the same level as your audience. And yeah, once again, no absorption here. We're about to get to that point with ClearSonic where we're going to show some of their sorbers, which is going to help actually soak up the sound. And once again, here we are just deflecting it. We are keeping it from going in certain directions. So let's check out the other options from ClearSonic that are going to allow you to absorb some sound and also help with the overall room volume. Let's go. All right, so now I am inside the IsoPac B from ClearSonic. Honestly, I feel like I'm yelling a little bit because this does a really great job of isolating the drummer, which also means that it does a great job of isolating the sound from the drum set. Now, this is a much bigger setup. This is something that is oftentimes used in more permanent installations, like at a house of worship or at a conference event or something that's going to stay set up for a while and is worth the effort of putting it up. This isn't necessarily something that you would want to use for your rehearsal space and take down every single day and put back up. It takes a little bit of time to put it together. So with the IsoPac B, what we're getting here now is we're adding absorption to the deflection of the sound. So now the sound is having a harder time traveling in this direction. It is being absorbed from the top, it's being absorbed on the sides, it's being absorbed in the front, which is going to reduce the overall volume of the kit. And also, there are much fewer areas where the sound can escape and much fewer areas where the sound can get back inside, which means if you're close miking your kit, if you have overheads, no longer is it reflecting off the back wall. It is now a lot more solitary. The microphones themselves are no longer catching the outside sound or the reflection from behind when it's bouncing off of the plexiglass. So a lot of benefits here. If you need a larger setup, they also have IsoPac A. They have the Mini Mega setup. A lot of different options depending on exactly what you're looking for. Now, once again, this isn't a very portable setup, takedown kind of setup, but if you're at your house and you have a practice rehearsal space that you want something like this to set up all the time, this is a really, really great option to reduce the sound inside of the room and also to reduce the sound transmission outside of the room. This isn't going to make it completely soundproof, but this is going to do a good job of bringing down the overall volume, especially if you have other bandmates in the room or if you have a recording setup where you're trying to record other vocalists or guitarists outside of the drum enclosure. You're really going to be able to do a lot of isolation. All right, so for a more practical at-home usage, they have the HomePac by ClearSonic. That's what I'm going to show you next. You're surrounded by sorbers, and what this does is allow you to, in a very timely manner, like 10 minutes is what they've suggested, you're able to set up around the kit, which reduces the volume. It's great for quick setups for practice. It's something that doesn't have to be long-term. It can be a temporary practice solution. You set it up in 10 minutes, you play the drums, you take it down in 5. It's not permanent. Let's check it out and see what difference that makes. All right, so you can't see me right now because I am inside the HomePac from ClearSonic, completely surrounded by their sorbers. It's gonna work. All right, everybody, we've gone through a lot of options today. I hope this video has been helpful. Really trying to nail down what it is that you need for your particular scenario. And that's the big question you have to answer. What is it that I'm trying to do? Do I want live acoustic drums that sound like live acoustic drums? I just need to reduce the volume in the room or in a certain direction. And that's where you need to think about a drum shield if it's directional, or you need to think about a large like the sorbers from ClearSonic, where you're absorbing the sound and you're minimizing the external transmission if you're trying to lower the volume within a room. If volume is not the biggest issue, if you really just need something quieter but not the most quiet it can possibly be, then a low volume setup like this with low volume cymbals and mesh heads is going to require a little bit more effort from a setup perspective, changing out drum heads. But it is going to give you a more realistic playing experience. If you need the most quiet situation you can for the least amount of effort and the least amount of cost, then a set of drum mutes is going to be what allows you to throw them on the kit and practice. Just make sure you get the right sizes for your cymbals and for your drums for maximum effect. Outside of that, I hope this video has answered all of your questions. If you have any more, you can contact your Sweetwater sales engineer and they can help you pick out what product is right for your scenario. You can also click the link in the description and head over and check out all the different products at sweetwater.com. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.